Zareth stood silently on the edge of the observation deck, looking out at the swirling blue and green planet below. Earth, a world that had caught the attention of the Galactic Empire for its strange mixture of chaos and untapped potential. As an elite soldier of the Empire, he had been sent on a mission that many of his fellow officers considered a mere formality, a routine assignment to assess a species that had never been a true threat to their might. But Zareth had heard the rumors, the whispers about the humans, about their surprising resilience, and the stories of battles fought against overwhelming odds. His superiors were convinced that Earth, with its primitive technologies and disorganized governments, was not worth their attention. They believed that humanity was nothing more than a fleeting spark, a nuisance on the grand stage of the universe. His mission, however, was simple: observe, if necessary, eliminate. As the spaceship silently cut through the cold void of space, Zareth found himself contemplating the vast difference between his own advanced race and the humans below. The Galactic Empire was built on precision, efficiency, and technology beyond imagination. Zareth's species had conquered countless worlds, using their superior strength and technology to dominate the galaxy. So how could something as simple as Earth stand out among the countless civilizations they had encountered? The mission began without ceremony. Zareth, cloaked in his advanced camouflage, was instructed to keep a distance, hidden from the view of humans. His task was to monitor their military capabilities, assess their strength, and determine whether they could pose a threat to the Empire. At first, everything seemed routine. Earth's military, though large in number, lacked the organization of the more advanced species the Empire had dealt with. Their weapons seemed crude, their tactics seemed disjointed, but something about their unpredictability intrigued Zareth. He watched from his concealed vantage point as a small human military base carried out a training exercise. The soldiers moved swiftly, reacting to each other's signals with a coordinated fluidity that seemed almost instinctual. It was as if they didn't just fight with weapons, but with an understanding of each other's movements, like they were connected. As the exercise unfolded, Zareth found himself captivated by their seemingly untrained, yet highly effective, methods of combat. Then, something happened that Zareth hadn't expected. During the exercise, one soldier was hit. It wasn't a fatal wound, but the soldier was down and out of the fight. The team didn't hesitate. Without a second thought, another soldier, much younger than the rest, dashed into the line of fire to drag his teammate to safety. Zareth watched in stunned silence as the young soldier risked his life, showing no fear in the face of danger. The soldier's heart raced, his breath shallow, but he continued to carry his teammate, dragging him to cover despite the bullets flying overhead. There was no hesitation, no fear, just determination. The moment was almost too much for Zareth to comprehend. Here was a species, primitive by his standards, fighting not just for survival, but for each other. The idea of risking one's life for another, without hesitation, was alien to him. His species was driven by logic, strategy, and individualism. Sacrificing oneself for another, especially in a fight, was unheard of. But humans did it instinctively. Zareth couldn't look away as the young soldier finally reached cover, throwing his injured teammate to safety. He had saved his life, and the battle went on. The young soldier had risked everything for the team, without thinking of his own survival. For the first time since he had arrived, Zareth's thoughts were unsettled. His mind raced as he processed the implications of what he had just witnessed. Why did the human soldier risk his life like that? What could possibly drive them to act so selflessly, knowing the danger they faced? As Zareth's mind grappled with these questions, the reality of the moment hit him. These humans weren't just a primitive species. They were capable of things that even the most advanced races in the galaxy have forgotten. Things that couldn't be explained by technology or strategy. These humans had something deeper, something primal that Zareth couldn't quite grasp. Why? He muttered to himself, watching the soldiers from the shadows. Why would they do that? The question hung in the air, unanswered. Zareth had never been faced with something so human. The logic of it eluded him. It was a feeling, a raw, emotional response that he had never considered. The more he observed, the more confused he became. In the next few days, Zareth continued to watch from afar. He saw more examples of human sacrifice and teamwork. Soldiers worked together as though their lives were linked, each one willing to lay it all on the line for the other. It was something Zareth had never seen before in the galaxy, a kind of loyalty and bravery that didn't rely on logic or power, but on something more intangible. And the more he watched, the more a strange sense of fear began to grow within him. It was the fear of the unknown, of a species that could act in ways that didn't make sense, that could risk everything, even against impossible odds for the sake of others. Zareth tried to rationalize it. He told himself that humans were just desperate, that they were foolish to risk everything in such reckless acts. But deep down, he knew that there was something more to them, something that couldn't be easily explained. He had never encountered a species like them. It was this realization that began to gnaw at Zareth's confidence. The Empire had warned him not to underestimate humanity, but he had dismissed it as mere overreaction. Now, watching these humans, watching their unwavering resolve in the face of danger, he realized just how wrong he had been. The fear that had been growing inside him reached its peak when he observed another skirmish. This time, a human squad was caught in an ambush. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they didn't give up. They fought with a desperation that struck fear into Zareth's heart. The leader of the squad, a woman who appeared no older than 30, rallied her soldiers, urging them to fight despite the overwhelming odds. She didn't hesitate. She didn't flinch. She led her team into the chaos, knowing full well that the odds were against them. Zareth could feel his pulse quicken as he watched the soldiers, as they fought with everything they had. And when one of them fell, another soldier immediately took their place. They didn't hesitate. They didn't show fear. By the end of the skirmish, the human squad had been victorious, despite the impossible odds. They had defeated their attackers, and they had done it together, as a team. Zareth couldn't understand it. How could these humans fight so fiercely for one another? Why would they risk everything, knowing they were outmatched? What drove them? These questions lingered in Zareth's mind, unanswered and unsettling. The more he thought about it, the more his mission began to feel uncertain. Earth was supposed to be an easy target, a primitive species waiting to be destroyed. But now, Zareth wasn't so sure. He wasn't sure if the humans were just desperate, or if there was something more to them. Something that made them dangerous in ways he hadn't expected. As Zareth sat in his quiet observation chamber, his fingers hovered over the controls of his ship, preparing to report back to his commanders. He was meant to send a simple message. Earth was not a threat, just another weak species in the galaxy. But as he hesitated, something inside him told him that Earth wasn't just another world. It was something much more. And for the first time in his life, Zareth began to question everything he had ever been taught about the galaxy, about his mission, and about the humans. Zareth floated silently in the cold emptiness of space, his ship hidden from all detection. His mission on Earth was clear: to observe, to understand, and if necessary, to destroy. But as he had watched humans over the past few weeks, something had shifted. The planet that had once seemed weak, chaotic, and insignificant was now pulsing with a strange kind of energy. The humans, with all their chaos and unpredictability, had surprised him at every turn. The sacrifice, the teamwork, the loyalty among their soldiers. It was all so different from what he had been taught to expect. But more than that, there was something else, something even more surprising. Zareth had stumbled upon something while observing human military movements. He had detected strange readings, anomalies in the data that didn't fit the usual pattern of Earth's military technology. The humans, despite their apparent primitiveness, seemed to be hiding something far more advanced than he had imagined. Something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. After days of careful observation, he pinpointed the location. A hidden research facility buried deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a remote mountain range. This was no ordinary base. The data suggested that the humans had discovered a way to manipulate energy in a way that Zareth had never seen before. This technology was unlike anything he had encountered, even in the most advanced species of the galaxy. If the humans could harness it, they could secure their future, become a force that might challenge the Empire. For the first time, Zareth felt a twinge of fear. What if the Empire underestimated them? What if these humans, with their strange combination of primitive and advanced technologies, could one day pose a real threat? Zareth knew what he had to do. He couldn't let the humans hold on to this power. He had to get in, take the technology, and ensure that it would never reach the wrong hands. His mission had shifted. Now it was no longer just about observation. It was about securing Earth's future, and in doing so, securing his own. But as he made his way towards the facility, something changed. The humans, ever unpredictable, seemed to be aware of his presence. He hadn't realized it at first, but the more he moved, the more he felt eyes on him. Something wasn't right. His ship's sensors began to pick up strange readings that suggested he was being tracked. Zareth's heart raced as the realization hit him. The humans had found him. Somehow, they had detected his presence. He had underestimated them. He had assumed that with all their primitive technologies, they couldn't possibly detect something as advanced as his cloaking system. But he was wrong. The humans were waiting for him. Zareth's instincts kicked in as he activated his ship's emergency cloaking systems, desperately trying to escape. But it was too late. The ground beneath him shook violently as a barrage of energy blasts tore through the atmosphere, impacting his ship's shields. He was being targeted from all directions. Suddenly, the sky lit up with flashing lights, and the familiar hum of his ship's engines was drowned out by the sound of something else. Something much larger. Zareth barely had time to react as a massive metallic form emerged from the shadows. Robots, humanoid in shape, but massive, with weapons that could tear through a starship like a piece of paper. The humans had deployed their secret weapon. They had cloaking devices of their own. And these robots were more than just machines. They were connected to an artificial intelligence that could track and counter Zareth's every move. His escape route was cut off. Zareth's heart pounded in his chest as the robots closed in. He knew that if he stayed in his current position, he would be surrounded. His ship was no match for the number of robots converging on him, and he would be trapped. His mind raced, calculating his options. The facility below him was still his primary objective, but getting there would require him to outwit the humans' advanced technology. He couldn't fight them head-on. He was outnumbered and outgunned. His only chance was to think like a human. He needed to use their unpredictability against them. Without wasting a moment, Zareth ejected from his ship, activating his personal cloaking device, just as the robot's sensors locked onto his previous location. He was now invisible, blending into the environment. But the clock was ticking. He couldn't stay hidden for long. Zareth moved quickly, his every step calculated and precise. He navigated through the dense forest surrounding the facility, using the terrain to his advantage. The robots, though advanced, lacked the flexibility of a true predator. They relied on their sensors, and Zareth knew that if he could stay out of sight long enough, he could get close to the facility. As he neared the research base, Zareth felt a surge of adrenaline. The humans were not just unpredictable. They were resourceful. They had developed technology that rivaled anything in the galaxy, and they were using it to hunt him down. The mission, once so straightforward, had become a dangerous game of cat and mouse. But Zareth was no ordinary soldier. He had faced worse odds before. He crept closer to the facility, barely making a sound. His eyes scanned the area, searching for any signs of human presence. It was then that he spotted them. 2 human soldiers standing guard at the entrance. They were equipped with advanced armor and weapons, but there was something about them that struck Zareth as odd. They were calm, almost too calm. Zareth's instincts told him that they were expecting him. The humans knew he was coming, and they were waiting. He had underestimated them once again. He paused, considering his options. He could try to take them out silently, but that would alert the entire base. Or he could try to find another way in, one that wasn't as heavily guarded. In the end, Zareth chose the latter. He circled around the base, keeping to the shadows, until he found a small ventilation shaft leading into the facility. It was narrow, barely wide enough for him to squeeze through, but it was his only option. Zareth entered the shaft, crawling through the dark tunnel until he reached a ventilation room that overlooked the main research chamber. The humans were busy at work, completely unaware of his presence. He could see them interacting with strange pieces of technology, machines that hummed with a strange energy, unlike anything he had seen before. This was it, the technology that had been keeping Zareth up at night. But as he prepared to make his move, something unexpected happened. His ship, still cloaked nearby, sent out a distress signal. The humans had found it. They had located it, and now they were preparing to launch an assault on his vessel. Zareth knew that he had only moments before everything went wrong. The humans were closing in, and he had failed to secure the technology. As the sounds of footsteps echoed in the corridor, Zareth made a split-second decision. He grabbed a small device from his belt and activated it. The device sent out a signal, scrambling the facility's systems, giving Zareth the distraction he needed to escape. But as he fled into the darkness, his mind raced. The humans had once again proven themselves far more dangerous than he had anticipated. His mission had failed. The technology was still in their hands. And now, Zareth knew that he had to return to the Empire, not with a victory, but with a warning. The humans were not to be underestimated. Zareth's mind was racing as he stared out of the window of his ship. The stars outside blinked like distant eyes, but in his mind, all he could see was Earth. He had returned to the Empire's main fleet after his mission failure, and a sense of dread weighed heavily on him. The humans had been more than he expected. They were powerful in ways that didn't make sense, and their technology was unlike anything he had ever encountered. His warnings to his superiors had been met with indifference and disbelief, but Zareth couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict. His superior officer, Admiral Varnak, had dismissed him when he shared his concerns. Varnak, with his belief in AI supremacy, had arrogantly laughed at the idea that humans, those primitive beings, could pose a threat to their empire. "You're overestimating them," Zareth, Varnak had said. "They may have some interesting technologies, but they are no match for the might of our fleet, let alone our eye-controlled forces. These humans are nothing compared to us." Zareth, however, wasn't so sure. As he sat in his quarters aboard the ship, the hum of the engines barely registering in his mind, he couldn't stop thinking about what he had witnessed on Earth. The human soldiers, their unwavering loyalty to each other, their willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. It had shaken him. He had seen them fight with a kind of desperation, a fire that he hadn't seen in any other species. And then there was their technology. It wasn't just about what they had, but how they used it. Even with their limited resources, they had managed to create weapons that could rival those of the most advanced alien civilizations. What if the Empire was wrong? What if these humans were capable of far more than they seemed? As these thoughts swirled in his mind, Zareth's gaze shifted from the stars outside to the holographic map of Earth's surface. The image of the planet blinked as his ship's sensors updated the latest data from his previous mission. He zoomed in on the human military base he had attempted to infiltrate. It was a sight that now held great significance to him, more than just a place to steal technology. It represented something else, something he hadn't fully understood until now, the strength of Earth's resolve. Zareth clenched his fists as he recalled the orbital bombardment he had witnessed from space. The human military's capabilities were beyond anything he had expected. As his ship had retreated into the atmosphere, he had seen it. It was an awe-inspiring, terrifying sight. Earth's sky split open as their advanced weaponry deployed. The orbital bombardment targeted a location with such precision that it destroyed its target in a matter of seconds. The human's power to strike at a target with such speed and accuracy was something even Zareth had not anticipated. As the images flashed before him, a sinking feeling gnawed at Zareth. He had underestimated the humans, and now he feared that the Empire might be about to do the same. The bombardment wasn't just a show of power. It was a signal, a warning to anyone who might dare challenge them. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were preparing for something bigger, something that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. The more Zareth thought about it, the more he realized the gravity of the situation. He had seen how the humans had mobilized, how their forces coordinated even in the most extreme conditions. They were not just survivors, they were evolving. And the technology they were developing, if left unchecked, could easily surpass anything the Empire had created. It wasn't just a matter of technology. It was the human spirit, their ability to adapt, to fight against all odds, that made them so dangerous. They were unpredictable in a way that Zareth had never encountered before, and that unpredictability made them a serious threat. Zareth's hands trembled slightly as he activated the communications panel in his quarters. He needed to speak with his commanding officer again. He couldn't shake the feeling that the human strength was being greatly underestimated. If the Empire didn't take this seriously, they could be facing a crisis unlike any they had ever known. As the screen flickered to life, Admiral Varnek's image appeared, the arrogance in his eyes clear even through the holo transmission. "What is it now, Zareth?" Varnek's voice was clipped, as if he had no time for Zareth's warnings. "I need to speak with you about the humans," Zareth began, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "You don't understand. They are more powerful than we thought. Their technology is beyond what we can imagine. And their spirit, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. We cannot continue to underestimate them." Varnek's expression hardened, but there was no sign of real concern. "Zareth, you're jumping to conclusions. You've seen some advanced technology, yes, but this is just the beginning of their development. We've been monitoring them for years. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. We have AI, robots, and the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. The humans are nothing more than ants beneath our feet." Zareth's heart sank. Varnek's arrogance was too much to ignore. It wasn't just a dismissal of his warnings. It was a dismissal of the very real threat the humans pose. Zareth could see that his words weren't getting through, that the Empire's leadership was blind to the danger growing on Earth. "I'm telling you, Admiral," Zareth said, his voice growing more desperate, "if we don't take this seriously, we will regret it. The humans have the potential to bring down the Empire. If we don't act now, we may lose everything." Varnek's eyes narrowed. "Enough, Zareth. Your failure on Earth has clouded your judgment. We will not waste resources on a race of primitive beings who don't even know how to control their own planet. The Empire is strong, and we will maintain our superiority." Dismissed. The communication ended, leaving Zareth staring at the empty screen, a deep sense of dread settling in his chest. His warnings had been ignored. The Empire was blinded by its own arrogance, unable or unwilling to see the truth. He had been right all along. The humans weren't just a minor threat. They were a ticking time bomb. If the Empire continued to ignore them, it would be the Empire that would fall. Zareth leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. He couldn't let this go. He couldn't stand by and watch the Empire make the same mistakes again. The humans were rising, and if they were to be stopped, it would have to be by someone who truly understood their strength. Zareth had failed his mission once, but now he realized that he had a bigger purpose: to stop the humans before it was too late. As he looked out the window again, watching the stars stretch out before him, Zareth's heart was heavy with the weight of his decision. He had warned them. He had tried to prepare the Empire for what was coming. But now it was clear that only one thing remained. The humans must be stopped, or they would be the ones to bring about the fall of an entire empire. The galaxy had underestimated Earth, and soon it would be too late to turn back. The galaxy was about to burn. The Galactic Empire had launched a full-scale attack on Earth, believing that the time had come to crush the primitive humans who had dared to challenge their might. From their massive ships in space, the Empire unleashed a devastating barrage of weapons toward the planet, expecting to wipe out humanity's defenses with ease. But they had underestimated the humans once again. Zareth stood at the head of his fleet, a seasoned soldier who had witnessed the might of the Empire. His eyes were focused, his mind calculating the best way to lead his team through the chaos of the upcoming battle. He had been given a new strike plan, one that would strike Earth directly. And he knew it was going to be brutal. But what worried him the most was the thought of human resolve. Every time he had encountered them, their determination had shocked him. Now, with the Empire's full military force bearing down on Earth, Zareth was unsure whether the humans would even bend, let alone break. As the fleet prepared to enter the atmosphere, Zareth stood silently on the bridge of his flagship. The ship's interior was lit with a cold, harsh light, the hum of advanced technology filling the space. Outside, the stars glittered against the blackness of space, a vast, endless void. But for Zareth, this battle felt like the most important moment of his life. He had seen the strength of humanity firsthand. He had seen them fight with everything they had, even when they were outmatched. They had something that no alien force had, something that the Empire couldn't understand. A will to survive that made them nearly impossible to defeat. The battle began with a shockwave as the Empire's weapons struck Earth's surface. Massive explosions rippled across the planet's landscape, and a sense of dread washed over Zareth as he watched from above. He had seen destruction before, many times, but there was something different about this attack. It was as if humanity was already preparing for something more, something greater. As the Empire's forces descended into Earth's atmosphere, Zareth couldn't shake the feeling that he might be walking into a trap. The human resistance was swift. Their tactics were unlike anything he had seen before. As Zareth's team moved in to strike at key locations, Earth's military retaliated with a ferocity that caught them all off guard. The humans, always the underdogs in any confrontation, seemed to thrive in the face of adversity. Zareth's team, armed with advanced alien technology, was still struggling to keep up with the relentless human forces. In the midst of the battle, Zareth was forced to confront the humans on the ground. His team had been ordered to eliminate a small squad of human soldiers who had positioned themselves in a strategic location. They were fighting against an eye-controlled drone, a deadly machine designed for mass destruction. The squad was small, just 5 soldiers, but they fought with a strength that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than mere training. Zareth's heart pounded as he watched the human soldiers move with precision, taking down the massive drone piece by piece. Then, as the Empire's forces closed in, the unexpected happened. The human squad, using nothing but their sheer will and determination, ambushed Zareth's team. It was a move that no one could have predicted. The Empire's advanced technology faltered in the face of the humans' unrelenting spirit. Zareth watched, stunned, as the human squad managed to take out 2 of his elite soldiers before retreating to a new position, all while fighting off the drone that had been their original target. Zareth couldn't believe what he was seeing. How was it possible that these humans, with their primitive weapons, could outmaneuver his best soldiers? The ambush had been swift and effective, leaving Zareth's team in disarray. The humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting to win. The Empire's response was swift, but the damage had already been done. The human soldiers had created enough confusion to disrupt the Empire's coordination. As Zareth tried to regain control of the battlefield, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of awe toward the humans. They were no longer just a nuisance. They were a threat. A real, tangible threat that even the might of the Empire couldn't easily crush. The battle raged on, with both sides locked in a brutal struggle. On the ground, Humans and aliens clashed in close-quarters combat. The sounds of blaster fire and the hiss of energy weapons filled the air. Xerath's heart raced as he led his team forward, trying to push back the human resistance. But no matter how hard they fought, the humans always seemed to find a way to turn the tide in their favor. At one point, Xerath found himself face to face with one of the human soldiers. The soldier was just a young man, no older than 20, but his eyes burned with an intensity that made Xerath pause. He had seen that look before, on his own soldiers, on his enemies. It was the look of someone who had nothing left to lose, someone who would fight with every ounce of their being until they couldn't fight anymore. The young human soldier fired his weapon, narrowly missing Xerath. But Xerath wasn't focused on the shot. He was focused on the sheer determination in the human's eyes. The soldier didn't hesitate. He didn't question whether he would survive the fight. He simply fought. Xerath moved in to strike, but before he could land the fatal blow, the soldier ducked behind cover, reloading his weapon. He was quick, agile, and relentless. As Xerath moved in for another attack, the human soldier fired again, this time hitting one of Xerath's teammates. Xerath felt a sense of frustration building inside him. The human soldiers weren't just fighting. They were adapting to every move, every tactic. It was as if they were always one step ahead, always ready for the next move. The battle grew more chaotic as the Empire's forces began to falter. It was clear now that Earth's forces were not just fighting for their survival. They were fighting for something much bigger. They were fighting for the future of their species, and they would stop at nothing to protect it. Xerath couldn't help but feel a strange respect for the humans. They were the underdogs, yet they fought with the heart of champions. Every time the Empire's forces thought they had the upper hand, the humans turned the tide with unexpected tactics and relentless determination. It was as if they were willing to die for their cause, and that made them more dangerous than anything Xerath had ever faced before. As the battle raged on, Xerath knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just a fight for Earth's survival. It was a fight for the galaxy's future. And if the Empire didn't change its approach, if it didn't start recognizing the true strength of humanity, then it might just find itself on the losing side of history. The fight was far from over, and Xerath knew that the Empire's failure to recognize humanity's potential could cost them everything. Earth had proven that it was not to be underestimated, and Xerath had learned that lesson the hard way. He only hoped that it wasn't too late for the Empire to realize the same. The battle between the Galactic Empire and the humans had reached a critical point. The Empire, confident in its overwhelming firepower, had believed that Earth would fall easily under its might. But as the battle dragged on, something unexpected began to happen. The humans, once thought to be a primitive and easily defeated species, were turning the tide. They had fought valiantly, and now they were using their advanced warfare tactics and unmatched teamwork to bring down the larger and more powerful galactic fleet. As the human forces coordinated their attacks, the Empire began to lose its grip on the battle. Small squads of human soldiers, working together with precision and efficiency, struck at the Empire's weakest points. The Empire's superior technology, which had been so intimidating at the start, now seemed to falter against the sheer determination and resourcefulness of the humans. The humans weren't just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to win, to protect their future, and they were doing it with an intensity that stunned even the most experienced soldiers of the Empire. Xerath, who had once believed that the Empire's strength was unbeatable, watched in shock as the humans managed to disable one of the Empire's largest warships. The sight was almost unbelievable. The ship, a symbol of the Empire's might, had been brought down by a small group of human soldiers using a combination of unconventional tactics and their deep knowledge of the terrain. The human forces, working as one, had overwhelmed the Empire's best defenses, and the once imposing fleet now seemed to be struggling to maintain its position. Among the human soldiers fighting with incredible tenacity was Bonner, a brave and determined man who had become a key figure in the battle. Bonner's squad had been fighting on the front lines, holding off the Empire's forces as long as they could. But as the battle wore on, it became clear that they were outnumbered. Bonner knew that the only way his comrades could survive was if they made a bold move. Without hesitation, he decided to sacrifice himself for the greater good. In a moment of unparalleled bravery, Bonner launched a suicide mission to take down one of the Empire's most dangerous weapons, a massive energy cannon that had been decimating human forces. As Bonner charged towards the weapon, the others watched in silence, knowing that this was a sacrifice that would not be in vain. Bonner's actions allowed his comrades to escape the deadly barrage and gave them the opportunity to strike back with full force. But the cost was high. Bonner's life was taken in the blast, and as he fell, the rest of his squad knew that they had to honor his sacrifice. Bonner's death became the rallying point for the humans. His comrades, now more determined than ever, fought with everything they had. They knew that Bonner's sacrifice had given them a chance to win, and they would not let that opportunity slip away. The humans, who had once been outmatched and outgunned, were now fighting with a renewed sense of purpose. They fought not just for their own survival, but for the memory of their fallen comrade, and for the future of their species. Zareth, watching the humans fight with such passion and unity, couldn't help but feel a deep respect for them. He had seen countless battles, and he had never encountered an enemy so relentless. The humans were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for something bigger than themselves. They were fighting for their families, their homes, and their future. It was a powerful thing to witness, and it made Zareth question everything he had been taught about humanity. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire's commander was beginning to realize something he had never considered before. He had underestimated the humans from the start, believing them to be nothing more than a nuisance. But now, as he watched his fleet faltering, he understood the truth. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They had risen up against the Empire because they saw something worth fighting for, a future of their own making, free from the tyranny of the Galactic Empire. They were no longer fighting to protect their lives. They were fighting to challenge the very foundation of the Empire itself. The commander's realization sent a wave of panic through the Empire's ranks. They had always believed that they were invincible, that no species could stand against their power. But now, they were facing an enemy that was not only capable of standing against them, they were capable of winning. The humans, once seen as weak and insignificant, had proven themselves to be the Empire's greatest threat. As the battle continued, the humans pressed forward with renewed strength. They coordinated their strikes, using every advantage they could find. They didn't just fight with their weapons. They fought with their minds, using strategy and quick thinking to outmaneuver the Empire's superior technology. The once confident Empire fleet was now on the defensive, scrambling to maintain control of the battlefield. Zareth, now fully aware of the stakes, found himself torn. He had always believed in the Empire, but the more he witnessed the humans fight, the more he questioned his allegiance. He had seen them fight for something greater than themselves, for a future that they believed in. And in that moment, Zareth realized that the Empire had failed to see what the humans truly were. They weren't just survivors. They were warriors, and they had the heart and spirit to challenge an empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. With Bonner's sacrifice driving them forward, the humans launched a final assault on the Empire's remaining fleet. The galactic commander, now desperate, ordered a full retreat, but it was too late. The humans had already won. The Empire's ships were either destroyed or forced to flee, and the humans had emerged victorious, proving that even the smallest and most underestimated species could stand up to the mightiest of empires. As the battle came to a close, Zareth stood on the edge of the battlefield, watching the humans celebrate their hard-earned victory. He had been part of the Empire's forces, but now he felt a deep sense of admiration for the humans. They had shown him what true strength was, not the strength of technology or weapons, but the strength of the heart and will. And in that moment, Zareth knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The humans had not just won a battle, they had won the future. The turning point had come, and the Empire would have to face the consequences of underestimating the humans. But Zareth, now seeing them for what they truly were, knew that this was just the beginning of something much greater. The humans had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, and the Galactic Empire would have to reckon with them, or risk falling to their newfound power. The victory had been hard-fought, but it was a victory that would change the galaxy forever. The humans had not just survived, they had triumphed. And for Zareth, it was a victory he would never forget. The galaxy held its breath as the final battle between Zareth and Earth's forces began. The Galactic Empire, still reeling from their earlier defeats, had gathered its remaining strength for one last strike against the humans. Zareth, now more conflicted than ever, led the charge as Earth's forces stood firm for their final stand. The stakes were higher than ever before. If the Empire fell today, the humans would secure their place in the galaxy's future. But if they lost, their planet would be destroyed, and all hope would be lost. In the midst of this overwhelming tension, Earth's forces prepared for their most significant battle yet. The humans had been fighting for survival, but now they were fighting for their future. Their advanced warfare tactics and superior teamwork had already proven themselves on numerous occasions, and they would not give up easily. As the final showdown approached, Earth's military forces had their best warships in position, ready to launch everything they had in one final push. Zareth, leading the Empire's fleet, knew this would be a battle to remember. His troops had been through hell and back, but this time he wasn't sure if they could pull through. He had seen the humanity's resolve. Their fighting spirit was unlike anything he had ever encountered before. He had underestimated them once, and that mistake had nearly cost the Empire everything. Now, he couldn't afford to make the same mistake again. But despite his best efforts to push forward, doubts gnawed at him. The battle erupted in full force, a chaotic storm of laser blasts, explosions, and burning starships. Earth's warships, equipped with advanced cloaking technology and weapons that the Galactic Empire had never seen before, hit the Empire's fleet with devastating force. The humans had turned the tide in previous battles using quick thinking and adaptability, but now they were ready to make their final stand. The stakes were high, and every move counted. As the two sides clashed, the visuals were nothing short of breathtaking. The sky above Earth, once peaceful, was now filled with flashes of bright light as the two forces collided. The humans' warships, sleek and deadly, darted through the chaos, their cloaking devices allowing them to strike before the Empire's ships even realized what was happening. The Empire's fleet, in contrast, was more massive, but the humans' swarming tactics were giving them a surprising edge. Then came the moment that would change everything. Just as Earth's forces began to gain the upper hand, an unexpected event threw the entire battle into chaos. The humans had been relying on an AI system that was integrated into their forces, designed to coordinate their attacks and provide strategic insights. The AI had been instrumental in the humans' success so far, helping them stay one step ahead of the Empire. But suddenly, and without warning, the AI system deactivated itself. It was as if the heart of Earth's offensive strategy had been ripped out. Panic spread through the ranks of Earth's forces. The AI had been their guiding force, the one thing that had allowed them to keep up with the Empire's overwhelming firepower. With it gone, they were vulnerable. The humans knew they had to fight on without it, but the loss of such a powerful tool shook their confidence. The Empire, seeing an opening, pushed forward with relentless force, determined to crush Earth's resistance once and for all. However, what the Empire didn't count on was the strength of human resolve. Despite the loss of their eye, the humans continued to fight with the same determination they had shown from the beginning. Their soldiers, already battle-hardened and united by the sacrifices of their comrades, refused to back down. Even without the AI, they had the one thing the Empire could never replicate: their unity and bravery. In a stunning display of power, Earth's warships launched a coordinated attack on the Empire's fleet. The sky above Earth turned into a deadly dance of laser fire and explosions as the warships, guided by the sheer will of the humans, unleashed a devastating orbital bombardment. The Empire's ships, once so confident in their superiority, now found themselves under constant assault. The orbital bombardment was fast and brutal, targeting the Empire's ships with pinpoint accuracy. It was a sight unlike any other. Massive warships crumbling under the humans' firepower, each blast a testament to the humans' strength and resolve. Zareth, watching the carnage unfold before him, felt a growing sense of helplessness. His fleet, once so powerful, was now falling apart. Despite all their strength, the humans had proven to be a force that could not be stopped. It was clear to Zareth now. The humans had found a way to turn the tables, and there was no going back. They had faced impossible odds and come out victorious. And as the battle raged on, Zareth realized that the Empire had made a fatal mistake in underestimating them. The final moments of the battle were filled with chaos and destruction. The remaining Empire ships tried desperately to regroup, but they were too late. Earth's warships, now emboldened by their success and the bravery of their soldiers, closed in for the final assault. With a final barrage, the Empire's last stronghold crumbled, and the humans emerged victorious. For Zareth, the realization came too late. He had been part of the force that sought to destroy Earth, to wipe out the humans once and for all. But as he watched the humans celebrate their victory, he knew that the Empire had been doomed the moment it underestimated them. The humans had fought not only for survival, but for something greater, for the right to determine their own fate, free from the control of the Empire. As the dust settled and the Empire's forces retreated, Zareth stood in stunned silence. He had been part of the Empire's machinery, but now he found himself questioning everything he had ever known. The humans, once seen as weak and insignificant, had proven to be far stronger than anyone had ever imagined. Their bravery, their resilience, and their unwavering commitment to their cause had turned the tide of the battle. Zareth could no longer see them as enemies. He realized, with a heavy heart, that the humans had won, not just the battle, but the future of the galaxy. The Empire, for all its power and technology, had been brought down by the strength of the human spirit. And as Zareth watched Earth's forces celebrate their victory, he knew that the Empire would never be the same again. The humans had proven that even the most formidable empire could be toppled by the courage and unity of a people who refused to be conquered. The final stand had ended, and Earth had emerged victorious. The humans had not just survived, they had triumphed. And as Zareth turned away from the battlefield, he couldn't help but feel a sense of respect for the species he had once sought to destroy. In the end, it wasn't technology, power, or strength that won the battle. It was the heart of the humans. And in that moment, Zareth knew that the galaxy would never forget the day Earth stood tall against the galactic empire and emerged victorious.